Hey everyone, recording a practice session here this is Bank of America. I'm recording this on a weekend, getting in a little extra practice. And this is recorded, the date of this day is, you can see there, April 13th, 2018. And I'm recording this in 2025, April 27th. And just going through day by day. And we're at 2 times speed, so just a little bit quicker than we'd usually see, just to get the hour that I usually trade in about half an hour. Get to talk through a few things which in real time don't usually get to talk through, because people always ask, why don't you have a trading room or something? And the mornings with kids just still a little hectic with trading, and getting up to occasionally have to do something for them or kids coming in. So opted not to do that, but can at least record these on the weekends. If I have a day when there's no kids in the morning, could potentially record a live session, but this works. I am using Forex Tester Online. Really enjoy this software. You can customize things in here. Click on this little thing. In the last video I talked about how to set up a project and download historical data, all that kind of stuff. You can go in here, change your commissions, leverage, that kind of stuff. What I've been working on lately is really thinking about as these bars are unfolding, like where would I want to get in? So as opposed to just waiting for a TC or a rounded bottom or a place I'd like to get in, it's like, or just waiting for the pattern to form and then kind of thinking about it real quick. Really thinking like, okay, where would I want a pullback to come to? Where would I want a TC to form? Where would my ideal spot be so that I'm not stuck, kind of making those more impulsive decisions or trades I can't really commit to. That's been a big thing on my mind lately, is being really committed to the trades I make, and that only happens if I've thought about it, thought it through. So a nice drop here off the start. If you hear some screaming in the background, that's my wife playing video games upstairs. If she hears me screaming, that's me when a trade goes bad. So really nice drop. We have lots of downside momentum, so right now I'm thinking, if we get a pop up, starts to level off a little bit, sells off. If we get a really sharp bounce, that would change things a little bit, depending on how sharp that bounce is. Maybe a possibility to go long as well. Let's speed this up a little bit. Of course, when you speed things up, the more you speed it up, the less kind of realistic, in my opinion, it becomes. Not in the sense of the price action, but in terms of the psychology of it, because now all of a sudden, if you have trouble holding a trade while the price is kind of oscillating around, now all of a sudden those oscillations don't take as long, so you might find you can hold trades a little bit easier. Or if you get really panicked during a trade, then yeah, you can just speed it up to find out, and you can't do that in real trading. So we had a little pause here and then a little drop. So that is a little bit different than if we just went straight up from here. Still might not be a bad short, but that's, yeah, that little hiccup just changes things for me slightly. I'd rather wait and see how things go. This isn't too big of a bounce to go long yet, though, so this is one of the things I think people learn a strategy such as like my TC strategy or something, and they think like as soon as one appears we should take it, but a lot of stuff is discussed in my courses and articles on, you know, like little red flags, and just to be aware, and we want to monitor our trades and see which ones work. And yeah, this kind of thing, you know, these little hiccups, or what I call hiccups, when it's like it's not very super clean movement, like, you know, little pause there and then a little drop. What does that say? So the last drop was extremely weak compared to the prior drops. So maybe sellers aren't quite as strong. This would have been a good short if this got all the way to the bottom. That would have been a double pump, but didn't get there, so no trade. Now I'll usually start marking the day high, obviously way up here. Day low, so far holding. Had a little bounce off it, and we're seeing quite a bit of price action above, so just note that one may change, but this one definitely important for the moment. We'll stay on 5 times because there's nothing I'm seeing that I want to trade yet. Once something becomes more interesting to me, I'll slow it down. So now we got to think, okay, so if it can barely get below that low and then bounces back up above, that's telling us, okay, maybe this is some weak selling coming in. Couldn't hold that low. This is a lot driftier to the downside than it originally was. Doesn't mean it can't plunge, but would have to see that before deciding on anything. So right now, still just waiting. Could have possibly, you know, this is kind of slow as we talked about, so if it drifts down a little bit and then starts moving up into this area, could have a rounded bottom. And that would be somewhat interesting, but we have, you know, a little bit of an area up here. Right, so we could have a longer term double pump. This was a big drop. So this double pump didn't get all the way to the bottom, but this one has now. So if we get some sort of bottoming pattern, this could still be a big double pump, which makes this somewhat of a resistance area until it gets above. So first drop, next drop, much shallower, not very much going on here. So far, pretty hesitant below this prior low, right? So where would we need to get above for a rounded bottom? We need to get above there. Above there, then we're waiting for a pullback that turns higher above this prior low. happened yet. We're sort of holding just below that low, but it's not, we didn't have a strong drop through or anything, so let this play out for a bit. Selling pressure, so now potential rounded bottom would occur if price moves above there. Ideally, I'd want to see it move somewhat stronger above there. This is a bit of an acceleration though, right? Pretty small movement, drifty, so that makes it a bit of a yellow flag. We'll have to see how it develops. Right now, not loving it, but we are outside. Like we have moved. We are still in a downtrend. So do we want to go short on the break of this candle? That would be a TC, but we have pretty small movement here. Small stop loss though too. So if we did take that one, we would want our target right about there. That's how much the last drop went. We want to be conservative. Doesn't mean it can't go more, but a little bit conservative not to take that one. So now, where would we want to go short? Pullbacks haven't been too big, so probably somewhere in here. Now I have this little hiccup again where we paused, so if we can't get much of a drop, that tells us something. Not much selling momentum came in after that. So that either means I'm usually expecting a bit of a deeper pullback or something like this where it gets a little bit more complex because buyers and sellers are starting to even out a little bit. This also over here wasn't too bad of a short, simply because you have the stronger pop pullback and the next pop doesn't really go anywhere before it starts to falter. Little hiccup, barely got above. So these lows, 28, 28. Gets down to 27. There's a possible trade there. Target down to be conservative, probably in this area, 15, 16, 17. So you can see risk reward on that. Okay, but not ideal. Risking 8 points to make 11. If we were to stall out anywhere near that target, I would just close it out. So this has been a weak move below that low. Don't like that. I want to see it drop pretty quick. Move the stop loss down. One thing I don't like about this software is you can see there's some like that weird stop loss prices, and these are likely based off a CFD or something like that, because in the real market my stop loss would be like at the even cent. At this point it's at break even, not because break even matters, but because just putting it above that candle. Very close to the target now, so we're seeing if it hits. If not, we'll just close it out. So basically this move, so far this has dropped the same amount as the prior move. So I could have gone, a little bit extra, but like I said, I prefer to be a bit conservative on my targets as opposed to expecting too much and not getting filled. You can see this here from kind of where this pullback started dropping, where this pullback started dropping. Where did I put? Yeah, this is a $30,000 simulated account and 800 shares. It's always the option too of, on a TC or something, if you have a tendency, you can get those like little whipsaws, right, where it drops below and then moves up. You can wait for the little bit bigger drop and then put out a limit order. So this would be on the simulator or in real trading. So an option, this one was kind of holding just below that low. We could have waited for the drop and then threw out a limit order here and see if there's a little bit of a pullback to get you out. So bigger drop, driftier drop, accelerated a little bit, nice stalling out there. Again, that stalling out changes things. It's not quite as clean as the typical TC, which is a strong drop, quick pullback, and then starts to roll over again. This one's kind of a mediocre drop, levels off, and then rallies. Why? It was already showing signs that maybe the sellers weren't here as much anymore. So I prefer to wait for this one. This is getting back toward the low, so we have a possible double pump there. Why is that line in the middle? Right, so we could put out an order up here for the double pump, or could wait for the confirmation. It's a little bit of a snapback pattern going on, but I prefer to wait for the double pump. So right around 16. So we could put out just a sell limit there at 16. You can see because that got to that prior low, sometimes don't mind making the assumption that the double pump will develop. Of course, if it shoots up through, then I'll get stopped out. But the flip side of that is that if we do get back up to this high, you get pretty much the best price in that range. But it has fallen away, so I'm going to cancel that and reassess what I want to do. Nice breakout of that range. So I'm going to put a sell limit just below that range, try to get caught on a pullback. Oh, this was the low was 03 there. 04, 03. I'm at 02, so I don't mind that. So where do we think the price would not go to? Well, if it gets back up into that range, I don't want to own it or be shorting it. So that's pretty high, actually. Like, probably doesn't need to be that high. Probably just a few cents above that for... Now I could prove it pretty much right back to that candle there. So that was a bit of a failed attempt to drop, right? Because it made it all the way back. So this is something, if it starts going up again, I would close it. So we can suck that in. I don't care about break even. Break even is an arbitrary number. If it stalls out near this low again, we'd consider getting out because maybe we have another range developing. Kind of now, because like now that we have this range developed, this is why I moved the stop loss down, not because it's like I want it, if it stalls out here and starts bouncing, I don't want to beat it because it could easily then move way back up here. So I think that target's okay. If it takes out that low, it's a pretty conservative target. This is a little bit of a newer concept. Well, not a newer concept for me, but it's not something I've put in the courses. I did add a video to the Forex swing trading course, which discusses this box idea, and I discussed it in the Euro USD day trading course. I call it range rules basically, but try to take advantage of this, like when you get a little range and the price breaks out of it and it's showing some tendency to hold outside that range. The range rule concept is if it's holding outside that range, then it's probably going to continue going that direction. It hasn't moved back into the old range, so it's not a false breakout. So that's why I put the limit order just outside to try to get filled on a pullback. Stop loss goes, somewhere above a, candle or something inside the range. And yeah, they generally work out pretty good. So we're past 11 o'clock, so we're about an hour and a half into this day. As you can see, probably could have made more. A nice trendy day, but pause that for now because that's usually the amount that I'm trading. And yeah, just caught a couple nice ones, and I don't feel the need to catch every move. It's like I said, my main goal is to be committed to the trades I take, to have thought them through, see something I like, and that's when I execute the trades. So yeah, to me that's a good day. It's not I try to frame it through not looking at it as a result, but if I scored myself on how well was I talking through my trades, I liked what I did today, that the talking through everything, that'd be, I'd give myself a 5 out of 5. And then how committed was I to those trades, and in terms of what I was seeing, and I liked that as well. As you see, I was talking through it. I knew where I wanted my stop loss to be. I knew where my targets wanted to be, and that's all you can ask for. Some people think commitment to a trade means you are rigid in that it has to hit your stop loss or target, but your trading rules can evolve over time to do what I did. Like if it stalls here, tries to drop, that's information. But it held outside this range, so that was good. And then as it started to drop, it was like, okay, well, if it doesn't get below this low, then we have this same scenario again. And on this next rally, it's pretty easy to get stopped out if it just moves a cent or two above. So I was committed to my rules of how I manage trades, and yeah, so 5 out of 5 in that. Even though we could look in hindsight and say like, oh, maybe we could have got a short there, or I could have taken a nice TC here. In the real time, in those moments, I couldn't fully commit to it. So that was okay for me to stay out. Then I can go through, multiple charts and see, hey, am I missing things by being a little bit too conservative? And sometimes that is an issue for me, but overall, as long as I'm also getting trades that I'm happy with and fully committed to, that's what matters. So yeah, good practice session. I try to do one of these, not recorded, but at least trade a day or two on weekends just to keep my head fresh. And I've been doing this, I've been day trading 20 years now, and I still find even coming into the week I can feel a little bit rusty. So this just helps keep the patterns, keep the management, keep everything well oiled, I guess. And so yeah, definitely I'll put a link to this software below, and yeah, I definitely would recommend it for getting some extra practice in and fine-tuning your approach. It's not just about isolating the patterns, it's practicing talking through the trades, it's practicing being committed. And the more you trade, the more you'll learn what your committed is, because committed to some people is hold on for dear life, like diamond hands. Never, unless it hits your profit target, you stick with it. Don't exit a losing trade, always stick to your target. And so yeah, that can be classified as committed, but it's lacks in the talking through and coming to a sound trading decision. Sound trading decisions look at the upside and the downside of a trade. What do I do if it doesn't do what I expect? What am I going to do if it does do what I expect? And so you want both of those things: sound decision making, well thought through trades, as well as the commitment. Happy trading.